No. Oh. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome here in Buenos Aires. We would kindly like to ask you to grab a seat, and we will start the program in 10 minutes. from online. I'm hoping that I'm looking in the right camera as we have simultaneously to this here a live stream going. Just a small practical question. Can or English, we have translators with us here today. The Spanish so it's good to know because we will both be talking Spanish and English here on stage. Okay, and you're all enthusiastic, eager, not too tired? Perfect, perfect. Excited, really excited, great. Well, maybe Brazil was a good warm-up for the film. Okay, to keep you afloat until 8 o'clock. The good news is in Europe it's winter time right now, which means in most countries we only have a 4-hour time difference. Great way to end this fair here today. In 2 hours, more than thousands, and I really explore the opportunities of studying in Europe. However, since we are here for the students today, we thought might be a good idea if it might be your first time in Argentina, you might not know the background of Argentinian students or to have an idea where they come from, what their dreams are, what their hopes are. And that's why today we have prepared a program in which we will talk with the Ministry of Education here in Argentina, who will give a presentation in a few moments explaining the educational system here in Argentina. It will give you, as people here at the fair, a good idea of where these students come from. And we hope that by giving you information about that, you will have a lot more, well, let's say, in-depth information on how to inform these students. I spoke a lot about students, and I'm very happy to say we have 2 Argentinian students who studied in Europe here today, who we will have a panel discussion with and who will share their experiences. And I think the stand people or the stand holders from Finland, Spain, and France will be very, very happy to know that these are students from their country. So we have 2 very different parts of Europe represented here on stage. Now, this is always the role as a moderator. I talked so much, I also need to give some practical information to you. So let me have a look at my notes, as it is really important that I don't forget what I'm saying. We are short on time today, and I can tell it was already very hard getting you to sit down, which is totally okay, because we understand that you are here to talk to each other. And that is also why we will keep this part of the at lunch. The lunch will be served a little bit more down. That being said, because the network event is so short, we might not have room for questions afterwards. So I hope as a moderator I can make room for at least 1 or 2 questions, because it's always null, and we really feel that the best way to do that is when you network with each other. I think I've done most of the talking, and I think it's time to leave the room for the experts on stage. I'm going to ask the technique to set the presentation ready, and Nuria, I would like to invite you to the stage, and the floor is all yours. A warm applause for Nuria.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Nuria Passos. I'm a part of the technical team of the internationalization and international cooperation program under the University Policy Secretariat of the Ministry of Education. First of all, I'd like to thank the European Union delegation in Argentina for this invitation. It's a pleasure to be a part of this fair and tell you about certain relevant aspects of the higher education in Argentina. Let's see if we can go to the next slide, please. There we are. I'd like to mention that the system is framed within the Higher Education Law, number 24521, according to which the national state and provinces bear the main responsibility for higher education, while this is considered a public good and a personal and social human right. Furthermore, our higher education law regulates the university system and higher education institutes. In the case of the latter, Their funding comes under provincial jurisdiction, while in the case of the university system, it's the University Policy Secretariat in charge of financing and oversight for government-run institutions. And now, we show you that according to available data for 2022, we have 57 national universities and 5 provincial that are government-run and 50 private. Overall, it's a 50-50 system. Half the universities are government-run and the other half are independent. Next slide, please. These figures show how massive the system is, and it has expanded mainly in the last 20 years, with universities created in the greater Buenos Aires area with lots of new students. The system also has long-standing universities such as the Córdoba University that's been in place for 400 years, UBA 200 years, the Littoral University La Plata that's been in place for 130 years, and the National University of Córdoba is worthwhile mentioning because it is of utmost importance in our higher education system. That is where the university reform took place in 1918, with consequences to date as to what university democratization entails and university autonomy that plays a fundamental role in our universities. Next slide, please. Going back to the percentages that I mentioned, 50% state-run and 50% independent universities. According to 2021, 81% of undergraduate and graduate students go to government-run universities that are free of charge in our country, which is related to the right to education as a human right. In this regard, well, there are many scholarships to incentivize admission and completion of graduate and undergraduate students, like the Manuel Belgrano and the Progresar scholarships. As to the size of the institutions, state-run are small ones, around 76% of them, 1,730,556 new 1.7% of university students that completed their studies. Schooling rate for 2021, considering the population in the 18 to 24 the same year, was 13.5%. Of 2021 period, the number of students grew by 30%. The evolution of the Argentine population in that same period was learning modality in this 10-year period, 2012-2021, with 80. As to academic offerings in university system, in the postgraduate we have, they are highly dispersed as to the number of students. 4,700 offers, while the 7,000 graduate and undergraduate.
Regarding the chosen field of studies, in 2021, 33% of those enrolled in place, with 22.9% of the new enrolled students. Regarding the student population, state-owned universities is of 74%, 65% are new enrolled students, and 58% are graduates registered in that particular sector. At the same time, we see that the most popular field of studies with the new postgraduate enrolled students in both. Finally, and regarding foreign students in our country, in 99,000 took pre-graduate and graduate courses, and 18,000 took postgraduate studies. We see the same information on this slide, and we see the nominal data of where pre-graduate and graduate studies are higher than in postgraduate, but in percentage studies, we see that the population represents 3.9% of the total students in pre-graduate and graduate courses and 10% in the postgraduate students. According to this management sector, it represents 4.1% for the state sector and 5.5% for the private sector. Regarding the origin, we see that 96% approximately comes from America, 2.9% from Europe, and the rest from Asia and Africa. And then in terms of the origin within the private and the public sector, and in the case of postgraduate studies for the same year, we see students so far. What we wanted to highlight and share with you this morning, would like to thank you for the invitation, and I do wish you all a very fruitful day ahead, an exchange of useful information for institutions and students alike. Thank you.
Nuria, thank you very much. I will keep my headset on for a bit because I think there might be one room for a question for you. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to ask a question? That can be in English or in Spanish. That's why I'm still keeping the headset on. Yes, a question here. Puk.
Buenos días, ¿qué tal?
Good morning. Thank you so much for the presentation. It was very clear indeed. Given that higher education is free, the scholarships that you grant through Progresar and the other program that you mentioned, what would exactly intend to? Well, this is mainly to motivate access of new students, to motivate them staying and graduating from these courses of studies. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question as well. Nuria, a final question I have for you. We have a room filled with, well, mostly European educational professionals who, like I said in the introduction, are really eager to help Argentinian students today. What would be your advice to them to help them in the best way possible at the fair? You can answer me in Spanish if you like.
Well, I think the main contribution for Argentine students would be to know in depth these offers, these academic options of each of the universities, being able to have information regarding particularly what we just mentioned, economic support, financial resources, which is really the main motivation for them, and knowing what possibilities of exchanges, courses, postgraduate opportunities at different universities that are part of maybe a master's degree, PhD programs. These are offers that are very much looked for by Argentine students these days. Thank you.
I think it will help a lot of us here with that information today. Any Argentinian educational professionals in the room here? A few. We did not forget about you. We have a presentation set up from the European Commission. They unfortunately couldn't be here today to join us in person. However, they sent a video, and in the video, Bart Kozijns from the European Commission will tell about all the possibilities from Erasmus Mundus. For the European educational professionals, if you have already been at one of the fairs in Sao Paulo or Seoul, you might have already seen the video. However, the information in the video is very important. So I would like the technique to start the video and enjoy watching.
Welcome to this session. My name is Bart Kozijns. I work at EACA, the European Education and Culture Executive Agency. The aim of this session is to provide more information on the possibilities offered by Erasmus Mundus. The Erasmus Mundus action was already launched in 2004 by the European Commission. Today it is part of the overarching Erasmus Plus program, and it consists of two lots, the Erasmus Mundus Joint Masters and the Erasmus Mundus design measures. First, I will focus on the Erasmus Mundus Joint Masters. These are high-level integrated transnational study programs at master level. They are open to all academic fields and disciplines and delivered by a group of universities, a consortium all over the world. As you can see, the key word here is excellence. Excellence of the participating higher education institutions, but also action. First of all, it is to enhance cooperation between higher education institutions in Europe, but also outside Europe. Another objective, research and innovation. Erasmus Mundus Joint Masters should also respond to societal and labor market needs. The students graduating in this program need to have a good employability chance, and the program competences, skills, and employability are focused on. What are the requirements to set up an EMGM? First of all, it must be a jointly designed, fully integrated curriculum. This means that a consortium partner should plan, decide, and implement together all the different aspects of the master course. This goes from the student selection. It must also be delivered by a consortium of at least 3 higher education institutions from 3 different countries. On mobility, so students will need to spend at least 2 study periods in different countries, and they must be able to deliver jointly a degree, either a joint degree or multiple degrees. In sum, at application stage, your study program must be ready to run immediately and to advertise scholarships to students worldwide. Upon selection, funding is provided for a fixed duration of 74 months, which is over 6 years. The funding consists of a large budget of over €5 million maximum. Applicants commit to enroll a number of students and to provide scholarships to the best students applying. 60 scholarships are awarded per project. In addition, there are top-up scholarships from targeted regions of the world. And you need to organize 4 annual student selections. Applications can be submitted by any higher education institution worldwide. Other non-higher education institutions can also participate, but not as coordinator. Universities in EU member universities from other countries should commit to the same principles of the Charter in the consortium agreement. All higher education institutions must have completed accreditation evaluation at application stage. Master in Functional Advanced Materials and Engineering. It is coordinated by Grenoble Institute of Technology and has another 6 full partners from Germany, Portugal, Belgium, and France. In addition, next to these full partners, there are 27 topics about the field. In the 3rd semester, they travel to a different partner where they are specializing themselves in the Since the start of this program, over 200 students have graduated, only for this project alone. In total, there are around 200 programs running as Erasmus Mundus Joint Master. If you or your institution would like to be involved in Erasmus Mundus Joint Master, there are different possibilities. The first option is to become a scholar or guest lecturer in one of the courses. Indeed, many programs advertise open calls to attract scholars to their programs, but you could also directly contact the consortium to offer your services. Another possibility could be for your institution to become an associated partner. Their role is typically more limited to, for example, offering internships or thesis co-supervision. They do not receive direct funding. Any type of institution could become an associated partner, including associating themselves to running EMGMs. A next option would be to become a full partner. This implies a stronger commitment from your institution. You would be involved in writing the application, awarding ECTS credits, hosting students, and so forth. And finally, there is the possibility to become a coordinator. This is the most demanding role, and it implies a sound knowledge of the Erasmus Mundus joint masters. Preferably, you would have a previous Erasmus Mundus experience for that. The other big target group of the Erasmus Mundus joint masters are, of course, the students. The program is open to student applications worldwide. Excellent students who want to apply for this program, please refer them to the catalog page where we advertise all running projects offering scholarships. Students will apply actually directly through the websites of the master programs. Now let's turn to the second lot under the Erasmus Mundus action, the Erasmus Mundus design measures. Here the message is, if you are interested in the EMGM but not quite ready, then the Erasmus Mundus design measures may be something for you. Indeed, the requirement to submit a competitive proposal for EMGM are rather strict and demanding, so setting up an international master is a lengthy and complicated process. We realize this. The objective of the design measures is twofold. Firstly, we want to encourage university to develop new, innovative, highly integrated joint masters. But we also want to widen the course offer to include underrepresented topics, disciplines, underrepresented countries, and underrepresented institutions in the program. What is EMDM? It is a short duration grant to support institutions of setting up new master programs. It is applied for by only one institution, and the applicant needs to already identify the other partners with whom the master will be created at application stage. EMDM is independent from EMGM, so there is no requirement to apply for a EMGM large masters after this action. Vice versa, there's no guarantee to be selected for funding if you have implemented an EMDM. Applicants that are selected will obtain €55,000 for a fixed duration of 15 months. If you are interested in applying, the European Commission Funding and Tender Opportunities portal is the place to go. Here, if you search for the acronyms EMDM or EMGM, you will find all information on past, ongoing, or upcoming proposals. And of course, you can always contact us directly through the functional mailbox indicated here. Thank you for your attention.
And of course, even though it was a video, we can still give a warm applause for Bart Kozijn from the European Commission. We will continue with the next part of our... It's always so difficult to walk in heels on a stage. I'm not sure if the people who wear high heels recognize this, but I'm very happy to announce the two students who have been to Europe here on stage, Trini and Sebastian. Would you be able to join me here on stage for the panel discussion and give them a really warm applause as well? This will also be the final part of the network event. After this, we will continue for lunch here. And I would like the technique if they can lower the audio a little bit, because I think both Sebastian and Trini have a lot to say about their experience in Europe, and we want, of course, their full attention. I'll make sure to get the chair right. Is there a microphone for Sebastian available as well? That will be great. Sebastian, Trini, it's so good to have you here today. I'm very happy that you're also both in Argentina after your European adventure, because it will give us the opportunity to, well, maybe compare the European countries that you went to the situation in Argentina and Argentina as a country itself. I'm just going to repeat, Trini Pose, who is sitting here, she went to Finland. I know Study in Finland is here. Yeah, you must be very happy to have a Finland alumni here. Tini, where in Finland did you study?
I went to Aalto University in Helsinki.
In Helsinki, okay. And Sebastian, you went to two universities. There's the extra microphone coming. You went to two different universities because you went to two different countries, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I did 1 year in the Polytechnic University of Catalonia in Barcelona, and then 1 year in École Polytechnique.
And I think the latter one is here today as well.
Yes.
Yeah, there's no such thing as coincidence. Trini, to start with you, you went to Finland. If I think about Argentina and Finland, they are polar opposites. Why did you decide to go to Finland?
Exactly because of that, I wanted to have the most different experience I could possible to kind of, just open my mind as much as it's possible. Not only the weather, but the culture, I would say, are polar opposites. And I found that very, very enriching. And I was surprised at how much I liked that polar opposite being from such a warm and loud culture.
What was it like when you first arrived there? Could you prepare for the culture shock?
I had a benefit that I enrolled as a tutor for exchange students that came to my university. So I already had 2 Finnish friends when I arrived. So I arrived on New Year's and I joined one of them for their celebration. So the shock wasn't as big because I already knew people. But just the airport with all the snow and all the quietness was like a big surprise.
Yeah, we'll talk about it in a second, what it was like to come back to Argentina, because that must have been a reversed culture shock as well. Sebastian, I don't want to say you took the easy road, but you went to Spain, so at least you didn't have the language barrier there.
That's true. I come from a Spanish family, so for sure we had some links there. I think my decision of going to study abroad was more related to the fact that I wanted to study renewable energy, and both those countries that were leading many of the efforts that were being speaking, that was a part of the decision, then in a more very great experience.
Yeah, it was a great experience. I just mentioned you took the easy road, but flying across the ocean to study in 2 different countries, far away from your family and far away from home, it's not always that easy. How did you experience being on the other side of the world for your studies?
I think it's a moment in your life in which you are, it's a milestone that you are accomplishing, and that challenges you in different ways. Live with their parents until they are being close to being graduated, and suddenly lots of paperwork and translations of documents. It leaves you lots of learnings and to deal with all that process and do that transition.
We will talk about the skills as well that you learned there aside from your studies, because I think we can all agree that apart from studying somewhere and gaining a lot of knowledge in the university, there's a lot of life knowledge to be gained outside of the studies as well. Trini, a question for you. Why did you decide to study in Europe? We already touched on the Finland parts, but Europe in general.
I really wanted to have, being in Argentina, you're far away from a lot. So I really wanted to have the opportunity to be in a place where I could travel and know a lot of cultures within maybe an hour flight or even by bus. After my studies, I even took a trip for a month, and I did it all by land. And that for me, it's crazy that you can drive from country to country so easily. So I really appreciated the mobility, and also the fact that there's a lot of European students also, because I went on exchange. A lot of European students were on exchange, so I wanted that plurality of cultures.
There are going to be a lot of students here at the fair today. They're going to talk to a lot of the people here in the room. Sometimes it can be a bit overwhelming, seeing so many countries, hearing so many stories. How did it start for you, the preparation? Where did you start, and when did you make the decision to go to Europe? Trini, that question is for you as well.
So I made the decision to go to Europe about a year before I actually went. I applied through my university exchange program. Finland in particular, I had a friend who had a really positive experience. And then I, like I mentioned, enrolled to be a tutor of exchange students. So that for me was like the warm-up to get used to speaking more in English on a daily basis and on a social basis rather than a professional basis. And just showing them my country was also really nice and an easier way to get used to interacting with someone from a different culture because I was on the safe territory. And I proved that to be very helpful when I went there because I was already a bit trained. So I would say that was my biggest preparation to reach out to young people that were incoming to Argentina one semester before I went.
And you were also really lucky when it came to studying in Europe because you also have a European passport.
Exactly, yeah.
That's one of the things that your Argentinian counterpart didn't have, Sebastian. Well, how did the preparation look like for you?
Well, there were some challenges. I had to apply for visas in both of the countries I went to. There's part of that process that is a little bit painful. Not so much here, where you just prepare your paper. Once I arrived at the city, I had to enroll in the city. It's called empadronamiento in Spain. But in order to get... So I was in this chicken and egg situation that coming from as many things happen on the campus, and in that way, the experience gets much more papers and everything was took some time, and yeah, of the adaptation easy to work as catalyzers of those moments is for sure very helpful.
Yeah, I think it's duly noted here in the audience, but maybe something that a lot of people also recognize. Trini, even though you didn't have to apply for a visa, studying in Europe can come with challenges. What were challenges for you?
I first of all want to thank both my host university and Aalto University because they made the experience super helpful, and they had my back for whatever I needed. So both that and the visa, I didn't have to deal with any issues. However, the bank account proved to be a big of a challenge for me, given that Argentina is such a cash-based country. For me, my parents, I'm also very thankful. They gave me the money to finance myself during the exchange, but it was in cash and it was like savings. And it proved very hard to open a bank account and justify the beginning of the funds, and I didn't know how to do that before, so I was just there without a bank account, asking people to, whenever I had to use a bank account, and pay them in cash. So a bit more transparency in what's needed to open a bank account abroad would be maybe helpful, so I could have prepped the proof of funds and stuff like that. So that was very interesting, talking on the phone with the bank and explaining the 2001 crisis in Argentina and why we rely on cash so much, and that was a big culture shock for me as well.
You already mentioned a little bit about economics from an Argentinian perspective. Of course, we also have to touch down about the reason why there are so many participants here today. It's, of course, due to the incredible work of the marketing agency and the organization here at the fair, but also because of the situation in Argentina. I hear a lot of students that are also coming here because they're looking for a future, and the future is possibly in Europe. What can exhibitors do here today to help these students, because they might maybe want to come to Europe, but they mostly want to leave Argentina? How can the exhibitors help these students in order to encourage them to be excited to come to Europe rather than leaving the country that they're from?
I think that probably many of the students that are coming here are closer to made up their minds. Resilient and optimistic by nature after many. If I have a particular advice, just sometimes there are financial challenges, so anything that can, I guess it's also good advice to try to create bonds with the local universities, so that in case some of those people want to come back as well, they have the possibility of having a good experience in terms of accepting credits and having value of the time that they experience outside.
Trini, what was your answer to this question?
Yeah, I think the creation of this kind of fairs is really important, because I feel like one of the biggest obstacles to having an experience abroad is lack of information. really, when you start looking into the amount of aid and scholarships available, you're surprised about the amount of possibilities there are. But even I go to a private university, I feel like they don't exploit and give enough information about that. So I think information and communicating all the opportunities open for everyone is a big, big step. And also for me, in my experience, I thought I've always wanted to have an experience abroad, not as a I want to run away, but as I want to but as to have a different point of view for my life. And I learned whilst being abroad a lot of beautiful things about Argentina that I was overlooking, about, I don't know, services that you have available and ways in life that are easier here. So I was very, very thankful about like the contrast and the different perspective. So I would say, I don't know, but just highlight as well how the cultural enrichment, it's not just about studying and just about education. There's a lot about personal growth and culture and socialization that makes you grow a lot as a person, even if you want to stay in Europe or come back as a more global citizen of.
And Trini, to stay with that, because I think it's beautiful what you just said. What did you learn about yourself when studying in Finland? A thing that you might not have learned about yourself if you would have stayed here in Argentina?
Like he was mentioning, I live with my parents. So first of all, the self-reliance and living on my own. Also the independence that came with safety. It was shocking to me. One of my biggest highlights of living in Helsinki was after going out, coming back home at 3 a.m., walking on my own, and that not being a second thought. So the freedom that comes with safety was mind-blowing to me, and it made me realize I'm a lot more self-reliant than I thought. Because here, if I want to go something, I'm always texting my mom and texting whoever I'm meeting, and I feel a lot more childish, if you will. But the independence that comes and the freedom that comes with safety for me was completely mind-blowing, and I'm so thankful of Finland for giving me that experience, because it's a totally different way of living in that sense.
And Sebastian, you already mentioned I learned so many skills while being in Spain and France. What is the thing that you learned, a personal skill that you learned?
I think one that was very interesting for me was Nuria was mentioning that we have lots of international students here, and over 90% of them come from different countries of America, and sometimes it's difficult to overcome those barriers and get to know people from Asia, Africa, Oceania, Europe, etc. So one of the skills I learned, I think it's to embrace those differences with people that came from places that were very far from home, and to understand how to set common grounds. Again, bringing some examples, but one day we were discussing a project about waste management with some colleagues, and after 5 minutes we realized that when we were talking about waste, everyone was thinking about something completely. You learn to empathize with others in a much more natural way, which I think is very positive. Then in terms of skills, I think I also learned a lot of English, of course. Following years of my career, the moment that you leave home, you're having control of some of the things that you go through your life. Out, you start as watching matches until 3 a.m., but translating that into skill is feeling connected to the roots of who you really are and where you're coming from.
Yeah, and feeling connected to the roots of who you really are. What did you miss most about Argentina while studying in Europe?
Something about the culture of being in your place, in which you interpret the face of those that are you miss. Weather when I was living in Paris winter to overcome and learn from different backgrounds.
Yeah. Not seeing the sun for a month, Trini, that must have happened to you in Finland. What did you miss most about Argentina? Was that the Argentinian sun?
Yes, and also I would say wine. And yeah, food in general for me, I'm a big food person, and it was hard to find things to cook Argentinian meals. So I was very happy to come back and share that part of the culture again.
You both didn't miss dulce de leche, because after a week in Argentina, I'm going to miss that a lot.
Yeah, I missed alfajores, I missed the meat. Yeah, that for sure.
Looking to the future, studying in Europe has left its mark in a very positive way on both your lives. Sebastian, however, you decided to come back to Argentina. What is it like being back here and having that experience of studying in Europe?
I think it was very positive. The moment I decided to come back, I think I kind of decided that before leaving. I knew that I wanted to apply most of the things that I learned abroad back here. Then other more personal parts of my life helped to facilitate that decision. I think that all that experience was very well appreciated here, and at the same time, the connections that you have with the university, your colleagues, your the niche that keeps retrofitting after years. So being here is part of those connections. I have friends that have business ideas. I have professors that require things from here. I mean, I think that it's very enriching for both sides of the ocean to have these type of exchanges. And yeah, the experience was very positive.
That's good to hear. Judy, you're attending the fair today to look at possibilities because you would like to come back.
Yes, so my experience was just 6 months since it was an exchange. But I've always had the suspicion that I wanted to live in Europe, at least for like a short, long term. So for a few years at least. And living there really corroborated that. So I'm definitely eager for more, whether that be Finland, Germany, or whatever country that be. I'm very looking forward to hopefully around September be back there somehow.
I think the Finnish and German colleagues are very happy to hear that. We are going to round up this part of the program, but we still have room for 2 questions. Is there a question? And in case of that, Puk, would you... there's the microphone. Microphone-less.
Okay.
The question is in English or in Spanish?
English. Okay, first of all, thank you very much for sharing your experience. It reminds us how important is what we are going to do here, so thank you very much. My question is really general. I would like to, first of all, you could also think, Julie, about Italy, not just... But if you have, you talk about your experience, okay, the problems with bazaar and so on. If you had to suggest to the universities in general something you would like to improve for a student that is coming to have this experience, but really concrete also, not just general, if you have something that you have been missing and you would like to say, okay, I would have liked to find this during my first stay. This is my question. Thank you very much.
Okay, I think, first of all, one concrete advice is awareness. These kind of fairs, I'm not sure if they were here some years ago, but I was just talking to Trini and Ella that the moment I was studying, you had colleagues that were to a certain university and did some exchange, but there are many others. I went to the other room and I was impressed by the big, vast offer of universities that you didn't get to know. So these kind of events are very positive, and increasing the awareness is always positive. Then in terms of when the exchange or the master program already started, any type of document collaboration between universities, I think it's very important. This is not my personal experience, but colleagues from university that went on exchange program, then it took them a couple of weeks, months to get accepted credits or subjects or things like that. And I'm sure that's a repeated situation year after year. And then also in terms of the type of document, it gets things more vivid. the moment I went there, I had a folder with 15 different documents. I was like, why is he only with an ID? So my impression exists, and that could have alleviated long weeks of going back and forth with different type of institutions here.
Yeah, for me, I would say probably the understanding that Argentina is a very different country, especially speaking with friends and teammates. They were always so surprised about how our economics work, and how, just in general, it's very, very different to what they're used to. So maybe a bit of knowledge in that regard, especially like financial bank account. For me, I was like about 2 months without a bank account, so I couldn't. So I was either paying cash or having to ask someone for big purchases to pay, and I would pay them back. And it was, I felt like a criminal in a way, but it was just like it's a very different system. So that was not the best kind of feeling, because I felt a bit alone in that sense, and no one really could understand. But for me, I was extremely lucky in the sense that Alto and Ditela, that was my host university, they did all of the paperwork and all of that, and without having to apply for a visa, I really cannot complain in all of that. The other only thing that I would maybe comment is a bit more integration with Finnish students in my sense. I really wanted to be more in the culture, and the people that I actually hang out with in Finland were the Finnish friends that I made here in Argentina. I didn't meet as many people there, and then I was just with other exchange. So I would say that.
Thank you very much. One more question. Yes, there. If there are more questions, I think Sebastian and Trini will join us also for the network lunch, so in case you can ask short questions afterwards.
Thank you for the moderation, first of all, also of this, I guess, sometimes very personal experiences that you shared. Thank you for that one. My question is the other way around. This was about going abroad, what could be done at the host institution. How did you communicate, it's not the right word, stay in contact, encourage perhaps later, after your return here, your fellow students at your home institutions to make the move? Did you have a podcast? Where did you report? What did you come up with? These are, so many possibilities. How were you involved in that? And really give us one advice I can say at the booth today to those pupils from school coming that may be different, and those from the universities. Thanks.
Personally, I wish I talked to more students. I got from my uni contacts from people going specifically to Finland, but then I signed up again to be like a tutor, and I didn't get any information back. So I think it's really important to share your experience, and especially when you come from exchange, a lot of people are extremely happy and they want to share that experience. And I feel like in that sense, it's not the communication between students. It's hard to know who went where and how to get in contact with them. So for the universities in general to make that connection of former students and people interested would be interesting, because I wish I could have shared my experience a bit more with students in general.
Yeah, in my case, I became an ambassador of some of the universities I studied there. So when I was coming back to Argentina, I organized some talks in my local university. I know of people that's already studying in Polytechnic or in other programs of, my double master was part of ENO-Energy. So I know some of them that are now in ENO-Energy. And I became an informal tutor of them. I'm receiving emails or WhatsApp messages every 2 or 3 months of someone new asking, hey, can you help me with this? I didn't organize a more massive communication strategy as a podcast or website or anything, but I tried to, at least in my closer networks of people, try to spread the voice that these opportunities existed and that I could support people that were interested in them.
Thank you for your questions. I know there would like to be more questions, yeah, but we are short on time. I'm so sorry. The students, if you would like to ask them questions, you can still do that during the network lunch. So if you would like to ask them questions, that can still be done. However, there is a delicious lunch prepared for us now. It's in Retiro. It's in the room if you walk straight ahead. One more question? Okay. One message, okay. One piece of information, okay. There is a delicious lunch being served. I think you can follow the organizers to the room. It's the Retiro room. I would like to thank Sebastian and Trini for sharing their stories here today. Nuria for the presentation. You're all holding in your applause. We can give a warm applause now. The translators, we often forget about them, but they made sure you could understand everything on stage, so a warm applause for them as well. And the technique and the organizers of the event. It's the last applause we give, it's the third one, so make it a good one. Thank you all for being here today. Good luck at the fair. We have one more message. Victoria, would you like to give the mic? Oh.
I would like to give the mic to Mario Gimelli.
Okay.
Hola, buenas tardes a todos. Soy Mario Gimelli, secretario.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm the Executive Secretary of the Inter-University Council. I apologize for interrupting, but I'd just like to inform those present here today. Some I know, some I don't. The Argentine university system holds an international fair every 2 years. We hold a meeting, and this time it'll be held in the province of Misiones from the 19th to the 22nd of March 2024. We've had two prior editions, prior experiences, one in the Cuyo region, another in Mar del Plata, and then came the pandemic. We have 5 pillars that we address. Registration is open for posters or for participating in the fair with stands. The fair is related to regional integration and international integration. The page is fiesta.ar, and you have the tentative schedule, dates, the venue. So we expect to see you all in March next year in Iguazu, Misiones.
Thank you. It's time for lunch. Good luck at the fair today, and have a very, very nice lunch.